So, yeah, first of all, let me introduce Alex. Is PhD professor that's worked for 30 years in education. Yeah, this is his diploma, not fake, real one. And yeah, he has a really good experience in high quality English courses and trainings for companies like big companies from Fortune 500. And yeah,
Yeah,
so
recently it's like actually oil, oil companies, there's a, yeah.
okay. So yeah, and we will talk about education this time, about educational technologies. So yeah, I suppose Alex is the guy that can tell about education, and yeah, and Alex, your turn.
Oh, Artem, thank you. Yeah, thank you for this great introduction. And I'm sure most viewers know Artem. So Artem is a founder of LivaRava company that and one of the major direction of LivaRava company is knowledge management. So the idea that over time companies develop knowledge, and they use this knowledge to make money. And so LivaRava and their terms protect and this knowledge can be lost for various reasons, and then so it affects companies' performance. So LivaRava and their term has for more than 10 years has developed different systems to protect companies' knowledge. And our topic today is, it's called EdTech. As far as I understand, is a different. Yeah, so in a way, we work in a kind of similar area. Yeah, yes. So our term works in how to. How to protect knowledge, and I work how to convey this knowledge to the people. So we are kind of colleagues. Yeah, so as I understand, EdTech, it's like a wide variety of different applications that can make education more effective. Artem, could you please tell to our, maybe briefly to our viewers, what is EdTech? Maybe there are, maybe there are 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different types of these applications.
Yeah, thank you, Alex, for such great introduction. Yeah, I believe you're one of those people who can talk about education for hours, as you have so much experience. And but yeah, if we will talk about this area from the perspective of technology, so yes, now it seems like education is transforming with technology. So maybe dozens of years ago, the educational process was like classical lectures where teachers are, talking about some subject and students write it down, and then probably there could be some questions and answers. Sometimes it could be some practical classes, and yeah, it seems like it was like one directional conversation and then some interactions. So now with the technology, you can, and yeah, just to continue. So when all these classes were mostly in the groups, sometimes it was a groups of like a large groups of many people.
Like lectures, like group setting.
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes it could be even bigger audience, like hundreds people, if the audience could, yeah, if the auditory can handle all this amount of people. And for now, with technology, at first thing, you can get a much bigger audience. Like sometimes it could be hundreds, thousands of people, as we have some technologies like Zoom, or for example, and other softwares that allow you to broadcast your live stream to a lot of people, and YouTube and all these technologies. And probably you are watching this show as well. And by the way, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because we had more than thousands views on some videos, but unfortunately, not all of you are subscribed. So please, if you're watching this video, subscribe to the video so our audience can grow as well. And of course, make a like and give some comments as well, as it allows us to communicate. And it will not be a classical lecture, so it will be a really interactive mode. So yeah, and we will also watch what I writing. So probably your question could be exposed in the video as well. So yeah, so with the technology, at first you can broadcast your information, your knowledge to much bigger audience. This is the first. Then, if it was recorded, it could be repeatedly watched again later. So you don't have, to talk to the same subject every time. Okay, but it will not allow you to interact all the time, because interaction is very important. And with technology, you can also adopt these classes, so you can cut material to many pieces, and it could be personalized. So with technology, you can adopt your material to each person individually, so people can watch it on any time that they are comfortable, in the place where comfortable. It could be anywhere, in the airplane or in the train or in the bus or in the bathroom. So yeah, this is what technology allow you to do with modern approaches.
Well, thank you, Artem. It sounds interesting and exciting. So and I hope it will come true. So people can learn on the plane or maybe on the beach, using all this technology, so they can better use their time. And let me ask you this question. I can right now I can see on the internet that about, oh my God, yeah, that I know it's not easy to understand numbers from the voice. So in 2018, it means 5 years ago, $152 billion was invested in in EdTech. And
Yes.
it is estimated, let me repeat it, 100, I can send, I have already, Artem, I have already sent you this brief information, so we can show it to the viewers. 152 billion, it's like 5 years ago. And it is estimated that in 2 years, by 2025, this amount will double. More than double, yeah. 352. Let me repeat it. $352 billion. Yeah. So on the one hand, I don't understand who invests this money, but on the other hand, it is, you see, it is global, sort of global crisis now, crisis of overproduction. So if you know this kind of crisis, from judging from history, usually lasts like about 5 years. So more, like, many companies are shrinking a little bit. So who needs all these smart people? Because now the company already have produced more than enough. Now, if they get this, even, you know, educate people and get even, you know, people will get even smarter and more productive. So it's already crisis of overproduction. What are these smart people going to produce? So you see, from I cannot figure out. So on the one hand, 342 billion dollars is going to be invested in this education, technology for education by 2025. But on the other hand, who needs all these smart people? Artem, could you please somehow clarify this?
Yeah, maybe for someone to have a lot of smart people is not good enough. But as for me, I don't know, maybe it's my kind of personality. I really like to talk with smart people. I really enjoy it a lot. Of course, if they are ethical and that's even better, you know, that's how you can enjoy these social interaction.
You can socialize. It's fun to socialize with
yeah, and that's
smart people.
I like in California, not only in California. Whenever you go, and if you have smart and educated people, yeah, this kind of environment is much more interesting, you know. So you can learn a lot from different people. You can, you know, play. You can do a lot of things together. So yeah, of course, and a lot of people could be very different people. And if they're just not educated enough, so they also fine. But I mean, that's when people are educated, so it became just more interesting, you know. So you can discuss more, you can interact maybe with more fun. So yeah, this is much better. And the question is that sometime, if you know, it could be that like overqualified, and that's what's happening sometimes. Sometimes we have the question of like ageism, you know, or sexism, or etc. yeah, it's not good. And I believe this is all because of lack of education. So if people are educated enough, there are less ignorance, there are less stupidity in the society, and sometimes it's more dangerous than some other things, So I don't see something bad in educated people. So we can handle even more challenging problems together if we are educated enough.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, yes, I'm fully on the same page with you. I like, I enjoy company of well-educated people, and the most well-educated people I met recently work for LivaRava.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Artem, so now I don't know, but some people invest in this new this technology, like software for education. Yeah, who are these investors? We don't know, but there is a lot of money, and of course, so many talented people work for startups with a lot of creative ideas. And now, so already we have some sort of standards for this EdTech, if you can say EdTech software or EdTech applications. So what are the, if you can tell us, what are the most important features of these applications, to be accepted by the universities?
Yeah, I can tell you for sure, as we in LivaRava, we also create some solution for our partners, and I can say that it's like a small university or academy for our partners. We're working in area of communication, so it was a very practical training and practices about how to communicate with in organization with their members and other audience. So the first element that's very important is the video courses, So sometimes it could be very simple videos, sometimes could be very professional videos, so production could take some effort. Sometimes it's a lot of effort. So as bigger quality of these videos, as of course it will be better to watch and to listen. So good picture, good audio, it just helps, to consume knowledge more efficiently. Some services can provide subscriptions or subtitles, and it could be synchronized with the video, so you can not only watch and listen, but also you can read. And yeah, so it seems like, these new technologies allow you not only to listen and see what the lecturer says and maybe showing, but also you can follow the text if you are more visual person. So it seems like you can use all of available tools. It's probably wasn't available in a classical education system. And after that, there could be some tests. So after each chapter, you can have some tests, and you can, train this material even more. And the best solution is, for me, is those that have some gamifications. So you not only, make this boring process of consuming information and then repeating it with some tests, but also it's like kind of game. So the process became even like fun. And as for me, this is it's great that we have this kind of technologies, and it could be personalized, and there could be used some even machine learning or artificial intelligence that could, adopt to your style of learning. So yeah, there are a lot of space. So I believe that it will be evolving even more. So we'll see. But this is what I've seen in many kinds of platforms for EdTech.
Yeah, videos, tests, and elements of gamification.
And yeah, the last thing, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yes.
It could be some interactions with other members or people that's learning the same material, so you can interact with them, probably ask some questions and exchange some thoughts, etc. So it's also like it could be some kind of community over the course and training.
Yeah, thank you, Artem. And yeah, I must tell, I must say that it seems you have already answered at least one or two of my next questions. But anyway, so you see, and we have, standard education, standard like university education, but it seems now this, in market and environment is becoming a little bit more competitive. So now people say that a university degree is not enough anymore. And people want to, and I can tell you a short story. One of my friends is like IT developer, and he spoke to his boss, and he told me, like, his boss said, by the age of 30 or 35, you need, if you are IT developer, you must become like a project manager, because there are already the whole generation of smarter, IT developers behind you, and you won't be able to compete, because you started your education at 17, and they started at 12 or 11, and they are faster and smarter. You either become a manager or a project manager, or they will squeeze you out from the company. That just a guy told me last week. So people need, it's not only universities, people need to keep improving their qualification all the time to stay competitive. Yeah, and I like this idea about like video courses, because in the past, this lecturer had to repeat his lecture every semester. But now with modern technology, he can record the best version of his lecture, and the students can watch it and when it's convenient for them, and they can watch and they can review. In the past, the lecturer comes, gives the lecture, and the lecturer leaves. Okay, and if you miss something, I don't know, ask your friends. But now with video, you can review it. Yes, that's wonderful, wonderful technology. Artem, what do you think are advantages and disadvantages of sort of remote lessons over the internet and face-to-face lessons?
Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Alex. You just remind me some observation. When I was a student in my alma mater in National Technical University of Ukraine, I remember it wasn't very popular, but it already was an understanding that the future is with EdTech, and there probably wasn't so many courses recorded online, but maybe the best ones were recorded because it wasn't very easy to find a really good cameras, digital cameras in that moment. It was like beginning of 2000s, and but with the time, everything getting cheaper and easier, so you can produce more materials. And now probably it's not so expensive, so you can record your every lesson, as you said. And this is how you can update your material all the time. If it's if it's like put it on the flow, and you can just update your like version of your lecture. And if you will compare to the Stanford University, where I was not so long time ago, so yeah, I can say that they record almost every lecture, and that's great, so you can then later or watch it again, or if it's public, you can publish it. So yeah, it's really nice. It's nowadays it's becoming easier, to produce and share this kind of knowledge. So what's benefits and advantages and disadvantages? First of all, I should say that personally, I prefer to be in person. Yeah, because I really like this environment, and especially if people are really interested in this subject, and also lecturer. So of course it's much interesting, to see it in person and discuss it. Sometimes you can ask questions, and that's great, and directly from the also, or maybe just to talk after the lecture with other students. And this is what I like most of all in this mode. Of course, sometimes you can do it interactively also online, but it's not the same feeling. But the advantage of online or digital education is that you can do it in every place, in every moment. So maybe you just physically not able to go somewhere, and for example, for disabled people, it's a perfect opportunity to study, even if it's not physically possible for the person to go somewhere. So it's a very inclusive way to study something. And yeah, you can do whenever you want, whenever, everywhere you want, and yeah. So even if you are not fully dressed, yeah. So, but maybe there are less interactivity, or just not in-person interactivity. Yeah, but sometimes I should say that the digital educational tools could bring you even more contacts, because digitally it's much easier to click on some profiles and connect to somebody than to go to each person and to talk. So but it's just different options that you can have, and that's great.
Yes, yeah, I understand. So there, thank you. So there are advantages and disadvantages of remote lessons and or training seminars and face-to-face training seminars. Yeah, so people can choose the best option depending on their situation. And let me make a short remark. Speaking of the video, you reminded me a short story. One Ukrainian company that sells boilers, like Villanto sells boilers. It's a German company. Invited me to help them. So they were introducing new software. And to make, and it is international company. So to make it easier for all the people to learn this new software. So IT people who develop this software may, run a training seminar, but they are not professional lecturers. They are IT guys. They speak too fast, and yeah. So Ukrainian guys, they recorded the video. And then they created subtitles. But still it was so they invited me to help them to decode the training seminar. So they were repeating, because they had the video. So they played the video many times, and they were repeating all the movements that the presenter was. The presenter was showing his screen, and they videotaped it, recorded it. Yeah, this is just an example that sometimes. So this video can be very useful, because then it's a training seminar, and people can review it several times until they understand. They can learn from this training seminar. Artem, so with so it looks like from information available on the internet, that a lot of money is invested, as it's like a new wave of technology. A lot of money is invested in developing this EdTech applications for education. But do you know a couple of real examples of real startups? Maybe you don't need to mention the name of the startup. A couple of examples of startups that making money from this, that are able to make money from this educational software.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I can tell you exactly what's happening on this market, as I'm observing it for many years. And it seems like we have this transformation from the physical universities like Stanford, Harvard, Berkeley, National Technical University of Ukraine, and Taras Shevchenko University and other, Oxford, etc. So every university has its own capacity. So like, okay, thousands, dozens of thousands of students, okay, but they are limited by the physical place. And this wave of startups that's creating like a virtual universities, in some way they are competing with the physical universities. And that's the reason why every university is trying to create their own EdTech startup. So it's like expanding of the physical place in the virtual environment. But we have like representatives of representations of universities, like classical universities in the internet, that have their own platforms for EdTech, and startups that's trying to compete with them. But somehow some startups have like a very high quality material from those different universities. Some of them have just, like a community created educational materials. Some of them have like very amateur materials. So it seems like the market of education is also transforming. And if many years ago it was a function of I don't know, like a state, especially in some countries, then they became private, and then they became totally decentralized. So we have so many options right now, and we have like a knowledge of materials of different qualities, so and different price. We also should understand that the price for education in Stanford and university in Ukraine, it's very different. And the price and the quality, it could be very different. So, but it will just give you an options, and you can choose whatever you want. Of course, it's nice to have the best for the very cheap price. Maybe somewhere in the future it will be like this. One more thing that I should say is that some professors from some universities can have audience on YouTube, like millions of viewers. They never can have such big audience somewhere in the university because it's just physically impossible. So with these technologies, you can have an audience much wider than in the physical place. So this is another advantage that I forget to mention before. So yeah, this is what happened. And yeah, it's very interesting to observe how it is changing. But I believe all of it is for good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, some interesting observations, and it seems this market is quite diverse because there are private universities, and there are state-run like national universities. and they are, as far as I understand, they're in a little bit different positions, because private universities generate some income, and they can order this software. So it looks like with time they're going to be even more inequality, that private universities will become even more advanced, and national universities probably don't have resources to order and develop this software.
Yeah, I can comment on this.
Yes.
So, for example, 50.
Yeah. How do you see the future? So, Artem, in the future, I think that you see all the lectures will be pre-recorded, and different students will be able to study at different pace. And only the best lectures will be given.
I think it will be even more extreme. And yeah, let me continue. So for now, yes, comparing, let's take Stanford University and Caltech, California Technical Universities. It's a state university. So yeah, Stanford have more resources, as it was founded as a private university, and then a lot of money was circulating inside the university, and they have, yeah, I should say somehow they have maybe more resources, or maybe more efficient management. I'm not pretending for the absolute, truth, but I mean that somehow, yeah, it could be a difference in management or maybe in financing, but somehow Caltech is bigger, and maybe they just do a different job. If mostly, like state university, national universities, they are preparing good students, but later they go to the Stanford, for example, and they make some research. So mostly in the state universities in the United States, they don't make a lot of research in the state universities. Probably in Ukraine, for example, it will be also like that, because I remember when I was a student in National Technical University, there was a problem with financing the research. So I was making some research, and it was a problem, as it was a state university, and there was a lack of financing of research. But to get the finance from the private source, it was so much bureaucracy, and it was like impossible, So, and it seems like even if you want to make research, and private companies even wanted to do it, it just was so hard to implement that it was almost impossible. So, I think in this situation, you just refuse,
there is so much friction and obstacles that many people just give up.
Later, with the help of, by the way, Ukrainian Science Club played a really important role in this process of transformation. Yeah, unfortunately, now we cannot, see all the benefits of this transformation because of the war. But I hope after victory of Ukraine, we will have this possibility to finish this transformation, and this is how probably everything could change. But this situation, when a lot of universities are still like have this management from the state, from
yeah. So you see, there is a Ministry of Education.
Yeah.
And usually these people, you know, they this is the only job they can have, and so
yeah,
most of them are not very flexible to change the system.
Yeah, I believe that if we want to change the system, you know, somehow we have to accept the idea that private universities should be founded, and in a totally different way. So it should be really private universities with private financing that will, you know, accept finance from different corporations. For example, I was in the University of Lausanne in Switzerland, and I was amazed. Yeah, Stanford is also great, but why I was amazed in Switzerland, because every building of almost every building of, it's also a polytechnical university in Lausanne, every building was sponsored by really famous brands like Rolex, or I don't know, Siemens, and etc. etc. So, you know, every building like has some brand on the top of it. So, and it's like brand new buildings with a really nice architecture. So of course students enjoy, you know, to be in this environment. And what also important, it's when students are studying, they see these brands, and this is not only the brands like a label on the building. This is there could be some labs that also sponsored by some company, so you can work in that lab. So, and it seems like you already, you know, cooperating with this company when you just study. And then you can, okay, now I know what's happening in Rolex and Siemens, etc. So you can be more involved in the real world technologies and businesses. So this is how, you know, this organic and natural connection is happening. And it's a really nice way, you know, to connect all the dots. So you don't have to invent something. It's just natural, organic cooperation of companies and universities and students. Yeah, of course there could be some buildings that's not branded, so it's also okay. But I mean, it's a really good way of cooperation. And every student has opportunity later to take internship in these companies, maybe during their study, maybe after the studies they can even go to work there, or maybe create a startup, but they already will have some understanding of the real market. Yeah, so that's great. And I really believe, yeah, somewhere in Ukraine and also happening, I know that some cooperation is already happening in the state universities as well, but we just have a different legacy, and I hope we will find a way, you know, to improve this system.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Artem, for describing this wonderful, wonderful model. And, Stanford University and Silicon Valley probably, the most successful model in the world. Unfortunately, it seems not... it doesn't work like that everywhere. So in some, you see, like about 30 years ago, actually, universities were ahead of the industry. so people were, studied at the university, and they learned learned advanced technologies, and then they used to get jobs in the industry. But what happened? Many old-fashioned companies went bankrupt, and as far as I understand, most advanced companies had their own research facilities, and they started advancing faster than the universities. And later, so many universities just turned into, they were just explaining to the students what these leading companies like Apple invented, and how it works. So 30 years ago, universities were ahead of industry, but then they just they fell behind. They fell behind. Not all universities, but many universities.
By the way, the question: do you know who has founded a National Technical University of Ukraine?
No, please tell me.
So it was the business owners of sugar industry.
Yeah.
So they founded this university, but later it became one of the most important place where all the aviation was invented as well. So I should say it's
Timoshenko was.
Yeah, what's important that university was founded as a private university at first.
Oh, at the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, and later it was like converted, but I mean that the original university was private. So sure. But it's very possible scenarios. It's big companies like Apple and those who have a really big resources. And for example, Microsoft, they bought LinkedIn, and LinkedIn had lynda.com. I really liked this. It's not an advertisement, just an example,
Yeah, how it works, the system, yeah.
So Microsoft bought social networks, it's bought
chain reaction, yeah.
Yeah, so what should I explain with this example is that big companies like Microsoft, they have their own online universities. And why? Because on lynda.com there was a lot of courses from Microsoft. So they actually was training people, in the style of Microsoft. So this is what can happen later with all big companies. They just like McDonald's as well. They have their own university or academy, and every big company will have their own academy, or like basically EdTech. EdTech have their own academy in Ukraine. So this is what's happening. This is a new type of education, like corporate education. So corporates will create their own universities. Good or bad, it doesn't. I don't think.
No, it sounds it's natural.
Yeah, it's just what's happening. As those who have resources and those who experience this like successful way of making wealth and value, so they just recreate it with academies. So and it's natural way, like for example artists and musicians and like how all it was evolving. So it was like guilds or academies, like scientific academies or societies. And this is how it was evolving. Also, it was natural. But why? Because they were doing something useful. So people with money was sponsoring them. So this is how all this knowledge and value was recreated in the time. So if corporates are really good in making value, because I don't like to, to measure everything with money. Money is not the only thing. It's nice tool to measure something, financial measurement, but it's not the only way how we can measure success. So, but if you create value, and academies and universities is the tool for, for scaling this experience.
Yeah, that sounds, I think that's natural. And I guess this approach was used in the past. Actually, one of my friend told me that, even in Ukraine in the past, big plants, they were financing like a kindergarten and the school, and workers of this factory, like not all the workers, but many workers were bringing their children to this kindergarten, and they all were friends, and they could so they were preparing the next generation. And even, in the kindergarten or the school, the teachers speak a little bit about this plant, about this factory, and they can speak to children. What profession would you like to get, and what profession would you like to get? And gradually, these children make up their mind, and they graduate, and they get a job at this plant. And a friend of mine told me that this is a standard approach in Japan. In Japan, the factories, they have this club, and they train children, like Hyundai and Japanese companies. So they have this little club, and they train, so children can have fun, playing with all these tools, and gradually they prepare the next generation of workers. And speaking of fun, so what you mentioned, gamification, and actually when people have fun, they learn faster. So from your point of view, what are possible applications? In the past, this ideas of gamification was used in sort of training seminar, like like a salesperson and a potential customer. Okay, it's like a game. Yeah, what role the gamification do you think will play in this EdTech, in developing this in gamification software for education?
First of all, Alex, thank you for your describing. And you just mentioned the very typical industrial era education. As you know, in Soviet Union, even in United States, in Germany, there was mostly this kind of approach, because in the era of industrial era, everything was like mass production and education as well. So it was like a part of this industrialization processes. Now we are
post-industrialization.
It's post-industrialization era, and we are going to the information era, when it's like, like TV is a tool of industrial era, when mass media, mass production, mass media. like, broadcasting.
Everyone watches the same program.
Yes, everyone watches the same program. And in information era, everybody watches their own program. So it's personalization. So it's absolute personalization. So you can watch whatever you want and what exactly you need. And this is the main difference of these two eras. So yeah, this is how we are changing, and this is the way where we will go in the closest future. And answering to your question about gamification.
Gamification, yes.
Yeah, and this is the next logical step, because by the way, the latest studies showed that people are much more efficient when they study for a very short periods of time and making some rest after it. So this is how brain absorb knowledge.
Yeah, it's not a marathon,
Yeah.
just like a short, yes, like small piece of information, then a little break. So this is the way in waves.
It's like a casual game, you played for 20 minutes. This is how I use some educational program as well. So I just, played for 15 minutes and it's enough, because I literally feel it's, because it's a really intense cognitive process, and sometimes, especially in the evening, I feel how I became
overstimulated. So the brain was overstimulated.
So 15 minutes, okay, I'm
too
done.
Much activity.
But I can do it several times per day, and for me it's more efficient than to stay for 1.5 hours just because the teacher has came physically and I have.
And you cannot hide.
Yes, of course you can make
escape.
Pauses as well, but
break,
breaks. But it also sometimes it just different. So so gamification can bring this. At first, it's personalization. It's the possibility to like play whenever you want and how do you want, so it's just make this process more individual.
Artem, you reminded me, you see, when I was speaking of gamification, when I was like about 4, like your children now, two of your children, and so I used to go to the kindergarten, and so this and children were playing. I don't know if you play this game. Children were playing this game. The game was called Mothers and Daughters. Mothers and Daughters. And and girls were playing this game, and they invited me. Say, Alex, could you join us? And I asked them, what are the rules? And they said, Alex, don't ask silly questions. So they were like they're pretending that it's a family. Family, there is a husband and wife and someone, so they make a deal. Okay, you will play a role of a daughter. Not me, but they offered to a girl. Yeah, so I tried to understand the rules. So they were learning the rules of life through playing this little game in the kindergarten. And you see, when I studied at the universities, many students from my group got married. So they marrying guys who were marrying girls from the same group, or from like 1 year younger. Yeah, and by the way, and we spoke about these factories, and some of these factories, they used to have kindergartens and schools, but they had summer camps. And I bumped into my school classmate on the street, and she told me, "Alex, I liked you and I wanted to marry you, but you see, I met this guy in the summer camp. Yeah, before I met you. So when I met you, it was already too late." Yeah. So you see, so people got married they found a partner when they studied at the university and in summer camps. You see, so this education, the system of education also contributed to demographics. But now you see, with all this remote learning, how can people create remote families?
Thank you, Alex, for this
short story that led to a question.
Yeah. No, it's not silly. Sorry. Yeah. It seems like universities played a really important role.
It was like an incubator.
Yeah.
For the society. Smart people married smart people and produced smart people.
But I should say that some couples could be also created with internet as well. For example, as I know, my oldest brother met his wife not even in the internet, in FeederNet. It's like
a little bit before the internet.
Yeah, power of internet. And they start to communicate on FeederNet, and then they became close. I hope it's not a secret story, but I should say that internet could be also a good environment because very interesting. So it's another topic, of course, but if you are talking about like strong and healthy relationships, I believe that somehow at first you have to become friends. And then
I fully agree. Yes, I fully agree.
Because if I know from the science that and it's statistics, you cannot fight statistics or in average the happy marriage lasts for 3-5 years, and it's happy marriage. It doesn't mean that marriage has finished after 3 or 5 years, but usually the excitement of
it becomes mundane, like routine.
Yeah. So what does it mean? That during this period, while hormones are on the peak level and the couple is very excited because they're enjoying like every moment, and it's like fountain of emotions and everything is great. But then after 3-5 years, when all the hormones gone, what is left?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So if friendship,
if there is no friendship, if there is no common interest, then this family could be very unsustainable.
Yeah.
And it's great if there is no kids yet, but if there are already kids and family is not happy, this is not a good situation. So what I should say is it's universities are great for demographics for sure, but I'm not sure it's all the relationships that were created during the university was very consciousness and was created in this, you know, healthy way. Maybe I'm not very correct, but this is how I see it. So maybe internet is just an environment where, you know, at first you can mentally and you know, to know the person, and then you can become closer in the real physical world. So it's just a different situation. But I suppose it's somehow in the future you can mix everything. You know, some activities could be online, some activities could be offline, and I believe that people are very socialized creatures, and if there are some advantages and disadvantages, where when you want to study the material, you probably will do it somewhere in a quiet place where you can concentrate. And then if you want some interaction with people, you probably go physically to some place. So I believe somehow in the future, universities will mix all this. As this is exactly what's happening now in Stanford. So there are, yes, Alex, I also thank you for these beautiful questions. Yeah, take your time, and yeah, see you next week.
Have a wonderful afternoon, and have a nice weekend.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe for the channel. Yeah, make likes and your comments and feedbacks. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next week.